My project this semester was to create a PLC whose goal was to fully implement BYOD in Liberty Park Middle School as well as the other schools in our district of Vestavia Hills. I decided on this because we have implemented bring your own device policy this past year. It was piloted for the past 2 years in several classrooms across our district. And now that it's here, I noticed that a lot of teachers are not using devices, even though this has been the next big thing. I decided to go into using devices because I've taught in a long distance course before, and I know how technology can be used in some ways, and I saw that there is a place for this in our classes, because blended classrooms, whether we like it or not, are going to turn into the classroom of the future. That's kind of where we're headed. To get this going, I started interviewing several people. Mr. Gordon at the high school, the principal, who's an old math teacher and curriculum instruction director. I interviewed Mrs. Isabel at my school. Jennifer Isabel, she's a social studies teacher that has been using BYOD and was part of the pilot program. And Mrs. Stephanie Hawthorne at the high school, who is also a BYOD guru and who has been using one-to-one devices in her room for the past 3 years. What I've came away from all those interviews with was that I was on the right track, but that my original concept of a professional development program centered on math needed to expand and bring in other people who use devices in their classes and have them help to create that professional development program for math as well as science, social studies, and English. So far for the project, the PLC has met once. The members of the PLC are Mrs. Isbell, Mrs. Hawthorne, Mrs. Gosnell, who's an art teacher who uses devices in her rooms every day. Mrs. Izareta, who is one of our who is our Spanish teacher at Liberty Park Middle School. She's also a BYOD teacher. When our PLC got together, for our meeting before Thanksgiving, we came up with a set of survey questions, 4 questions that we sent out to the Liberty Park Middle School faculty. It returned a lot of information. About 70% of our faculty do not use devices more than once a week, if they use them at all. 80% of our faculty said they would be interested in a professional development program that would center on using devices in their subject area. Our next steps are going to be, when we meet again, is to go over the professional development sessions that we're kind of putting together and critique them, help each other with the technology, and maybe give some ideas and feedback on the things that we're putting together. Then we're going to try and implement them for our individual departments at Liberty Park and see how things go, and then reassess with another survey, basically asking the same questions, but seeing what the feedback would be on how it goes. The next thing we want to do also is, after we get back from Christmas, is I want to contact our technology coordinator once we get our professional development sessions together, and seeing if we can, at the Summer New Teacher Academy, dry run these professional development activities for the new teachers coming into our district. And then we want to take those, and at our technology conference in the spring of next year, February 2015, present these professional development activities for all of the district. I'm hoping that by that point, a large portion of our teachers at Liberty Park will be utilizing devices. Readings this semester, I really liked Chapter 9 and Chapter 13 in the Fulham book. Chapter 9 was on students as agents of change, which I think is really appropriate for what I'm looking at for my change project, because the students can drive BYOD in a classroom. They really love using devices, and they can really push that and make other teachers that do not use devices see that if they had access to a device, they could do a lot of really cool things. The other was teacher preparation. I'm a firm believer in that, because after 18 years, I've seen too many people come into teaching and leave teaching after a year, 2 years, or 3 years, and go into the private sector, into corporate, simply because they didn't know what they were getting into. And I think that my undergrad years at UAB, I was prepared pretty handily for that with a lot of the observations we did, but some schools don't do that like a lot of Alabama, Auburn, and UAB do. So I think that that's an important thing. And the third reading had to be the Penguin book, just because I felt like it brought everything that was in the Fulham book together and made you see, even on the very small microcosm, just the penguin colony, but made you see how change works and the things that you face, the ups, the downs, and how a group is needed to really make change happen. It can't be just one person. You have to have somebody there with you to help you do it, because your weaknesses can be filled in with the strengths of others, and vice versa. I would say that things that I've learned this semester are that if you see a need, fix it. If you're going to do it, get help. Be patient. Rome wasn't built in a day, and change takes time, especially any change that you want to last. At the same time, you can't sit back on your heels and wait for it to change. You have to do something about it. So be proactive. And also, say what if? What if you try this, or what if we do that? Maybe you never know what will happen.